Hey guys, I know it's been a hot minute since you last heard from me.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you.
I recently dug my way out of degeneracy by finding a 9 to 5, but my energy levels have taken a huge hit. With all the hype surrounding the new Monster Hunter Wilds release, and with every single weapon now successfully teased, I thought I'd make a prediction tier list on what I think are going to be the most powerful weapons going to Monster Hunter Wilds. More so than just pure damage output, I also put some consideration in multiple aspects of the weapon's kit for the final decision. If you're offended by my rating of your weapon, sounds like a personal problem. Starting with the Sword and Shield, I honestly do not have very high hopes for this weapon. Probably a C tier. As a decently frequent user of the weapon in World, I noticed a big change to the weapon. It feels slower. Gone are your quick strikes from your short sword from World, while all the other weapons seems to be getting faster. Seeing how Wilds will be relegating a lot of currently the best parts of its kit to the focus mode, namely the perfect rush, we would need to see a significant change to its power level in order to keep up the damage output that other weapons in the list feels like it will be doing. As it stands, I'm not too pleased with the outlook. Next, it's a greatsword. A lot of my greatsword friends said they will be putting the weapon down for the upcoming release, as the weapon lacks the same impact that it seems to have in World. Judging from the trailer and what my friends told me in Gamescom, I think that the greatsword still has some potential. Thus, I'm putting the weapon in B tier. With a slightly faster speed and the ability to parry monster attacks, I think that the weapon can be utilized by numerous players to absolutely destroy the base game, landing heavy hits faster, with more flow, and with more safety. I think I would definitely put at least a few hunts in with this weapon once I've settled down comfortably in the endgame. Okay, now we have the longsword. I think this weapon is going to be a solid A tier weapon. When I first saw the trailer, I was mind blown. I honestly thought they planned to make the weapon more grounded in combat. Instead, we have the mhwib stick cranked all the way up to 12, keeping all the foresight slashes, EI slashes, and helm breakers like in World. The longsword's main issue with the flow and reliance on special sheath has been addressed. As an added bonus, the weapon can now make swings about as fast, if not faster, than the sword and shield. I guess it is the most popular weapon in the game for a reason. Next, we have the dual blades. I think this weapon will be around the same power as the longsword, sitting in the A tier. The dual blade seems like a slightly slower version of the current dual blades, exchanging the speed of attacks for the ability to connect multiple attacks seamlessly. Additionally, the implementation of what appears to be a perfect dodge mechanic will be a great addition for players who do what the dual blades do best, skirting through hitboxes while weaving multiple attacks. In terms of damage outputs and out times, I can see the dual blades easily being one of the highest of all melee weapons. Alright. So the hammer mains, your weapon is up next. Being given a mobility option while charging, and having the overall speed of the weapon increased, particularly the big bang attack, I think the hammer will be a strong contender for the greatsword in damage. Thus, I think the weapon will be in B tier. With some cool new moves, I look forward to seeing the openings the new hammer will create. My only qualm with the weapon is that I feel there is very little special moveset that it has while focused when compared to other weapons. The hunting horn is next up on the list. I would put this just above the hammer. This weapon seems insanely powerful at first glance. With faster animations and new performances, the hunting horn looks like it will be put down some big hits as it stacks up songs. What has me most intrigued is the echo bubbles, as the mechanic seems like it can potentially triple your damage. That seems kind of strong. So I'm guessing that there is going to be a huge setup and positioning requirement to min-max its effectiveness, hoping for the best.
Oh my.
Next up is the insect glaive. You guys are probably going to hate me for this, but I think that this weapon is going to be mid at best. I would put it above the sword and shield for sure, but I do not think it has what it takes to contend with the uptime, flow, and damage of weapons such as the greatsword, and particularly not the longsword or dual blades. Even from the trailer, I noticed a lot of downtime, as the hunter moves around and maneuvers to collect his 3 stickers, in hopes of receiving a few buffs to make the weapon a bit stronger. I just don't think that all the setup is worth it with a little weapon that is so middling. The only upside is that I will one day see a scantily clad female hunter stripper pole spinning on the monster's corpse. So the charge blade actually made me think really hard, but after some debate, I think the best place to put it is near the insect glaive. As it stands, one of the biggest issue I find for the charge blade is the insanely long setup to perform AED and SAED. For players who love its complexity, you'll be pleased, as the game will be moving some of the power behind the Savage Axe toward giving the charge blade even more follow-ups, particularly after the AED. Overall, the weapon looks and will probably feel similar to the charge blade that we've seen in World, so I can expect a lot of charge blade veterans won't have too much issues. If you're a new player, good luck. For the charge blade, we have the switch axe. This weapon is going to be A tier. I think this weapon is generally considered a strong option in World. However, I doubt that ZSD is going to be as abusable in Wilds, meaning that a lot of power will have to be refunded into its base kit. With what appears to be a faster sword mode, which was the bread and butter damage option in World, in addition to what appears to be more powerful new tools to the currently underpowered axe mode, I think that the weapon will be dealing incredible amounts of damage. Okay, let's move on to the lance. I'm going to rip the band-aid off immediately, and say that I think this is the only weapon that is going into D tier. With all the other weapons getting cool options out of guard, the lance just no longer feels as special, without any huge gameplay overhauls, and the weapon still looking like it lacks in mobility. I don't think the weapon will be topping any damage charts until some huge damage buffs, but it will definitely be a nice option for players to safely fight through the entirety of the game. Now we have the gun lance. On the other side of the lances, I think the gun lance has some potential. I would put it just behind the greatsword. The weapon has a fresh new look, with more emphasis on shelling, and the fast reload now refreshing Wormstake cannon. The American lance has just gotten more freedom. I think the weapon will be able to perform very well in the hands of experienced players once they adapt to the new and faster playstyle. Alright, now let's move on to the ranged weapons. The light bowgun is an extremely versatile weapon and has been since its conception. I think that its power level will be at a solid A tier, beating out the dual blades in the same tier due to its mobile nature and the distance at which it can engage monsters. In addition to that, I think that the bowgun's ammo kit, such as the paralyze and sleep ammo, will be critical in locking down the monsters in base game, giving players numerous options for defense and offense. Next is the heavy bowgun. This weapon is going to the S tier for one reason only: its damage output. I doubt that there will be a large nerf to the heavy bowgun's damage, and the changes from World will only serve to make it stronger, giving the weapon a small repositioning dash to further exploit positioning, the bowgun triple shot and rapid fire, as well as the ability to auto guard. The heavy bowgun will easily beat out other weapons regardless of range, and I think it will absolutely dominate speedrun times. Lastly, we have the bow. I think the bow has received a lot of quality of life, and I think it rightfully deserves a place in A tier. I noticed that there will be a perfect dodge mechanic, or something similar was implemented, similar to the dual blades, giving the bow players that push tight dodges another boon in their kit. Additionally, the fundamental flaws of Dragon Piercer has been fixed with the introduction of the tracker arrow, which will give bow players a mini aimbot. With the list complete, I think that Capcom has made good efforts at attempting to give new life to each weapon. While the lance is at the very bottom, I don't think that lance enjoyers will be deterred from trying out the weapon just because some dude on the internet said so. If you think that I made a fair assessment, drop a like on the video, or hit me up with a very mean comment down below if you disagree with any of the placements. Otherwise, let me know what weapon you're currently most hyped about trying in the upcoming Monster Hunter Wilds release. I hope you enjoyed Gamescom since I didn't get to go, and I'll see you next time.